Hello everyone and welcome. So today I'll be shooting a 2022 Kia Stinger GT, and I've wanted to shoot this car for so long now. I'm really glad that it finally happened and I have the opportunity to take photos of this car. This car to me is just an amazing car, and it's very hard to believe that Kia made a car like this. It's a sedan that has 365 horsepower. It could be optioned with all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, and the color on this car is just gorgeous. Audi made the Nardo Gray, but Kia I think really stepped up their game with the amount of performance, the handling, and the color with this car. It just an overall good car. Plus the design. Kia hired, I think, a BMW designer to design this car, and you can see it all over the car. The grille especially, you can clearly see it's a BMW type grille, and I think it really works with the entire car. It's just beautiful car, and I'm gonna shoot this car today. My client's gonna come to the spot in about a couple hours now, and I'll be walking you through how I took my pictures. For the majority of the photo shoot, I used a Canon 24mm because it's very wide, and because the spots are a little bit tight, it just allows me a bit more flexibility in taking those pictures. But yeah, I'll just show you how I took my pictures, and I'll see you there. Alright, now that I'm back in Lightroom, I'll be editing one of my favorite shots out of the entire photo shoot, and I just really like this shot, and I think it's a very simple photo, but it looks very, very good. Alright, what I did was I went to the basic panel and I just boosted up the temperature to about 6500. What this does is it warms up the entire photo, so it gives out the vibe that it's very, very warm, and the sunset is much stronger than what it is. And then I boosted up the clarity to about 30, and you don't really need to do anything else in the other sliders right here, and then just exit out of that. I'm going to leave the tone curve alone. And for HSL, all I did was I decreased all the blues because I want this photo to be as warm as possible. And so I just decreased all the blues, so all the shadows right here, they have a lot of blues in them, so those just get decreased and they become very desaturated, and the blues just go away. But it also takes out a lot of the blues in the sky, so which in my opinion looks a bit more cinematic. And then after that, I go to color grading, and for the highlights I just added 35 to the hues and about 10 to the saturation. What this does is it just adds a little bit of warmth to the highlights, so it's not necessarily temperature, but it just warms up the white highlights. And then after that, I went to detail, added a bit of sharpening, and then for lens correction, I checked all the boxes. And then for calibration, I decreased the blues to about -25, so it just gives up that orangish vibe in the photo, like that golden hour type vibe, because this was a little bit early in the sunset, so the sunset was not really orange, it was more yellowish. So doing this basically adds that little bit of orangeness to the photo, and I think it looks really nice. And then after that, I'm basically done. This photo is done. So this is the photo, but as you can see right here in the front of the car, it was pretty dark in the original one, but as you can see, I didn't increase any of the shadows, but this is very bright. How I achieved that was I went to the radial filter right here. I added a radial filter over this, like over this portion of the car, and then I just increased the shadows to about 50, and it basically brings out those details and makes that portion of the car visible, because you don't want to increase the shadows for the entire image as much as you can for sunsets, because what you want to do is emphasize the subject, not the entire environment. If you bring up the shadows in the entire environment, all those trees in the background, those shadows also get brought up, and you don't want to do that. Then after that, I went to the graduated filter. Then I dragged from the bottom up. Right here, I added one in the bottom, and then I decreased the exposure to -2. So it just darkens up the ground in front of the car and draws more attention on the car itself. And then I'm going to exit out of that. Also on the sky, I added another graduated filter, and I decreased the exposure to about -1 and added a lot of dehaze. So what this does is it darkens up that top portion of the sky, and it just adds a little bit of gradient in the highlights. Yeah, I think it looks nice. And since we took out a lot of the blues, as you can see, the sky is very grayish, and it looks a bit more cinematic and fits the overall theme of the car, which is that it's a great car. It's supposed to be very standout feature of the car, because I really think this color looks the best for this car. So in my opinion, doing this to the sky basically ties in the car with it. After that, I'm basically done, and it's ready to export. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching, and let me know down in the comments below what you think about this video. I'd really love to know your thoughts on it, because this photo shoot was, in my opinion, the best photo shoot I've ever done. So yeah, let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.